Hi, good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, and youth. So I think we have a very talented panel here, wealth of experience. We are young, right, and also coming with a different background, and that's why this panel is actually something exciting. So I think just yesterday we also launched the SFA also launched the FinTech Talent Report. So within the next 1 or 2 years, it's expected to grow. FinTech jobs is about 30% within the 1 or 2 years. So I think it's something very exciting, and it's a nice place to be in now. Right, so maybe to kick off this panel, let's dive right into it. Maybe each speaker can give us a self-introduction and then how you entered into the fintech or finance sector.
Hi, I'll start first. My name is Magdalene. I head up innovation at Prudential Singapore, and I'm also working to scale innovation across the Prudential group. I would be one of those accidental fintech people, right? I'm a lawyer by training, and then I moved into government relations. One of the key topics that governments were interested in, we found out, was fintech. So when the innovation role came up, I was already doing part of fintech, right, by doing all the open innovation stuff, and that's how I found myself here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jay, and I'm from United Overseas Bank. We're one of the local banks in Singapore. I've been in UOB for the last 10 years now. Prior to that, so I'm actually an engineer by training. I started off, I graduated with an engineering degree, and then I started my career in IT as a systems analyst. And then I actually stumbled, just like Magdalene, I stumbled into recruitment. And I've been doing recruiting for the last 23 years. I joined a bank initially in 2007 and have been with the financial services since then. So enjoying myself so far.
My name is Eric, so I'm the talent acquisition head for DBS Singapore. I joined the financial industry not by choice. I'm an accountant by education, but it was during the SARS period, which most of you are not born yet. So back then, there wasn't very much options available, and that's how I just started my journey in the financial industry. I'm not a HR by training. I came from a long, extensive experience in wealth management. So I've done wealth management before, I've done leadership skills before, regional roles as well. So that's my career. Yeah.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Ibrahim from Syfe, which is an investment platform. We are currently in Australia, Singapore, and Hong Kong with more than 100,000 customers. So today over here, I'm representing Young NTUC. So a bit of a difficult role of representing a trade union as well as my regular day job. My break into fintech or into finance was actually something that sparked from my own curiosity, right? I wanted to figure out what delight customers, and generally my interest is in building things. So I found myself, in a tech sales role, when I was doing my internship in uni, and very naturally working with various stakeholders. I saw myself, working and building and innovating on things that really deliver value to clients. And that's how I found myself in a role at OCBC in my previous job, working on some innovation for the Gen Zs and millennials. And I continue my work right now at Syfe. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Right, thank you speakers for your nice introduction. I think here we can see that all these speakers here come from a diverse background, and it's not just purely finance. So maybe let's turn to Mac, right? So when you were saying about how you're a lawyer by training and came into a totally different industry, so what excites you and what motivates you to actually come to work every day?
Great question. I think that would be the potential of making an impact, right? So why do we do the things we do, right? Well, we want our salary, right? That's important. We want a sense that we are doing something meaningful, right? And if we can show that we are able to contribute, right, in big and small ways to our colleagues, to our customers, and to the communities that we serve, I think that's something that's personally meaningful for me. Right? The other thing that gets me going is a sense of curiosity, I guess, right? So how do you solve some problems, right? So people throw questions at us in the innovation team. They're like, okay, how do you get young people to buy their first policy, right? And then we go off and ask young people that question, and then we find that they are not thinking about insurance policies at all, right? We work with some schools on this. They dutifully do their student project. But then we see their eyes light up at certain junctures, right? And that's when they talk about how we can help them to grow their careers, how we can help them to grow their wealth. And okay, cool. So if that's what they're interested in and that's how we want to connect with them, right? So we need to be able to speak in ways that are meaningful to them. And that started the entire journey that we now call T-Up, or talent engagement ecosystem. So it's really built ground up, co-created with young people. And that keeps me going every day because you know that the work you do has a direct positive correlation to the well-being, to the career prospects of young people out there.
Right, that's interesting. So that's from a perspective of like a FI, right, where you're a little bit bigger. So maybe we'll move to Abraham, who is like really in the heart of fintech at a fintech startup. Will these kind of things motivate you as well? Or do you have a different kind of approach when it comes to like joining the fintech sector, and what is your true motivations and keep you excited?
Yep, I think similar to Magdalene, curiosity is what kept me in the sector, and I think that's really where all youths out here, should actually be focused on. And I think for me personally I love to explore novel ideas, and the challenge keeps me going and helps me to realize, the value that I can deliver to clients. And I think this is especially important for me in my role as a product manager at Syfe, where we have more than 100,000 customers that we are serving in Singapore. And I see my day-to-day work translate into value for actual clients, right? And that really brings a lot of joy to me because I see that, a particular business decision or product decision that I take would actually deliver actual client value. And this translates to delightful experiences that, clients experience, and there's actually a tangible impact to their lives, right? Because as what Magdalene said, people in general are looking towards improving their lifestyle, growing their wealth. And exactly the course that I'm in, I help these clients to think a little different on wealth management or investing in general, and then empower them with the right tools to actually do investing right.
So what I'm hearing is actually this, what motivates you is really about the impact you can create and your curiosity mindset. So I think the next question that we'll have as youth is really, right, how do I then impact? Whether I have the capability to, create the kind of impact that I want to create in the ecosystem itself, right? So maybe let's start with Jay. I think recently UOB launched their work study program about a month ago. Maybe you'd like to share with us like what kind of holistic programs that are available so that, as youths, we won't be so afraid, when we first step into the industry.
Okay, so just a month ago, so it's hot off the press, we launched this program called the You Unleash program. And essentially, it is a one-year work-study program targeting at the Polytechnic and IT students. Okay, so as you know, Polytechnic is a 3-year course. So in the final year, you go through a full 1-year work program with us where you go through on-the-job training. And at the end of that 1 year, both parties will decide if we want to continue that relationship going forward. So if you complete the internship and you perform well, and the bank thinks that you perform well, then we'll give you a permanent role with the bank. Now for the ladies, you can start immediately because you don't have to serve national service like the guys do. The guys have to go through 2 years of national service, and after the national service, then you can come and join us after that. The kicker behind all of this is after working in a permanent role with us for 12 months, if you do intend to further your studies by taking a degree course, the bank will sponsor you for that degree course. Yeah, so it's a sort of win-win-win in all 3 directions.
How about Eric? Maybe when it comes to your perspective, same kind of situation, right? You're also in a bank. How or what kind of guidance is actually given, to students, graduates, or even youths who enter the bank?
So for DBS, we believe in investing in talents all the way from uni students. So we have a couple of programs, and I'll start off with what Jay has mentioned earlier on the poly internship. So similar to what UOB has launched, but we are more specific. We have actually launched a 12-month fintech apprenticeship program, working with NYP as well as TP in space of technology. So it's a 12-month program that we will bring you in with DBS, and subsequently, once you complete your one-year internship, we'll be offering you a perm role into the tech space. As for the graduates program or even the university students, we actually have this Young Seeder program. So most of you will have actually heard of this thing called the SEED program, which we have launched since 2017. We have hired more than 1,000 fresh grads in the technology space. It's a 2-year program for individuals who are graduated, and we will provide the full end-to-end training in the respective technology domain. But adding on to that, before you join us as program hires, before you graduate, you can join us as a Young Seeder internship, which is a 3 to 6 months, depending on individual university in terms of your internship period. And in that internship, you'll be tasked to do projects and as well as real jobs that is looking at real bank apps or even consumer products, institutional products, and that's how we actually train you at your penultimate year. So these are the 3 programs that we have.
Right, thanks, Eric. So what I'm hearing is actually the kind of programs that has real impact, like what Abraham and Meg mentioned earlier. So I know Meg has been working very closely with youths. As SFYC, we work closely together as well. And so something that I found unique is she always has a lot of interns, right? So what makes your interns keep coming back?
I think it's exactly the same thing that I mentioned earlier on, right? It's the fact that they can make a contribution, the fact that they feel that they are advancing their own careers. So instead of being in an internship that, they are a very small part of an existing process, right? They come and they create from scratch with us. And this would be in an area where they are interested in as well, right? So how do you co-create? For example, one of the things we realized that young people needed bite-sized career exploration videos, right? So we have put together from the insurance industry perspective, we have mapped out almost all jobs in the insurance industry, and for every one of these jobs, we have a short video, TikTok style, Insta style, to explain what the job of an underwriter is, what the job of a claims person, right? HR is not just blanket HR, right? That's the viewpoint of a 18-year-old who hasn't had that much exposure. But there's, com and ben, right? Compensation benefits. How do you decide how much to pay somebody? You have talent acquisition. You have people who figure out what the organization looks like, right? The whole structure. So every one of these is a distinct role. The skill sets required for a junior person in that vertical versus a senior person that's different as well. Right, so all of these add up together, and of course the new type of jobs, right? The digital jobs, the fintech jobs, the business analysts supporting that. So there's many different roles, but an OECD study says that half of all young people surveyed, right, in this OECD survey, aspire towards only 10 job roles. That's crazy, right? Like there are thousands of jobs, and everybody's going for 10. And there's just a limit to the number of lawyers, doctors, accountants, data scientists that the industry can have. So this one area we identified as important. We then get the young people to work on this, right? How do you do short form videos? How do you do it in a cost-effective way? How do you do it in a way that brings in our community partners, right? And then they are part of the solution for their generation. That keeps them excited. And I think we've come to a stage where we don't even really have to advertise out there now. They come to us by word of mouth. Their lecturers are very excited about the type of work that's happening. And then they refer their best students to us because they also want to help their good students to build portfolios and for their school to be able to say, we brought a project live, right? And I'm going to do something now, and this is what our interns are also asked to do. So now I'm on stage next to Jay and Eric, right? And Abraham, right? So this is the point where we say, hey, can we partner with your organizations, right? There are many interesting jobs in your organizations as well, right? Could we get some of your colleagues to do these short form videos for us, right? We're open to discussing if you want to put your branding there or not, because it might be troublesome to get compliance. But we want to help the community to understand more about these job roles, right? And then they are the ones who lead on some of these partnerships for us, as you probably found out, right? Yeah. So that's what keeps them coming, the level of autonomy, the sense of belonging, and the fact that they feel that they are creating something useful.
Right, so what I'm hearing is all these actually cannot be done at the end of the day without a holistic program and without the mentorship, right? So that's where mentorship and having the right career mentors or having your right manager is important. So I think for NTUC itself, they launched a new Gen worker report, and one of the resources that was actually key was actually on mentorship. So maybe Abraham, I know you're a career mentor. Is there anything that you'd like to share on your journey, and then as well as do you have any mentorship to get a head start?
Yep. I think want you guys to picture this, a structured training program where it's guided by the employer, and the government and the trade union provides you with the resources with a dedicated workplace mentor. So this is something that NTUC has launched recently, which is a career starter lab, where you as an intern would get a 3-month industry, take it as like a test water, or to figure out, get your knees deep, see what the industry has to offer, right? And I think touching on the report, do not quote the report wrongly. I think most youths today, of the 10,000 young people that NTUC interviewed, nearly 4,000 of them actually mentioned that quality internships and career mentorships was actually critical for them to have success in their early career. And I think the Career Starter Lab actually helps youths to actually understand, the complex environment that they are entering from school to the workforce. And ultimately, we hope that, there's a mutual job fit between the company as well as the youths when they transition into the workforce. And the structured program provided by the training company would then enable these youths to actually be equipped with the right skill sets. And hopefully, if everything turns out well, last I checked, the prevailing market salary per month was 4.2K, right? So that's in Sing dollars. I think there's a lot of upside for youths who are looking to join the various industries, and I think that's what NTUC tries to do, to provide the platform for youths to actually be integrated with the industry before you actually start your career proper.
Right. So I think for Eric and Jay, especially as HRs, right, I'm pretty sure that you have went through a lot of interns, a lot of rounds of interviews, and especially when you see interns come and go. So do you have any success stories when it comes to having the right mentorship that will allow this intern to be one of a rising superstar?
So maybe I'll start. We have this program as well called the Technology Development Program, TDP for short. And TDP essentially trains non-tech profiles into tech, tech professionals. TDP, so someone that goes through TDP, so those are fresh undergrads that would be studying business or business admin. You join us, and then you go through that 1-year training program with us, and subsequent to that, you get offered into a tech role with the organization. The 12 months training program is actually a permanent based role. Yeah, and through that 12 months, you actually get an intern, a mentor. So you get a mentor to be with you through that 12 months period as well. And so we are running into our 3rd batch now. We've launched the first batch about a year and a half ago. Last year, we hired our 2nd batch. And we're going to start the application for the 3rd batch very, very soon, right? The success that I've seen so far through the first batch who has already graduated through the 12 months is that we've got one student example, ITE, that went into poly, and then he came to join our program, right? Very, very successful. There are 3 tracks in the program: software, cybersecurity, as well as infrastructure. And this young man, he went to join the cybersecurity track, and he's done extremely well. So he's progressed in the organization. He's moved into a perm role now, and he's looking to advance his studies further, and that's where we're going to sponsor him for the study. So there are so many of these kind of different programs that whether DBS or UOB is offering, go and look for them. Right, there are many of these that you can use to progress your career as well.
Yep. So I think for DBS it's similar, but it's just that we have learned a lot from the internship journey. In the past, if you look back 5 years ago, 3 years ago, interns tends to be a resource to any organizations. And every organization is hiring in volume rather than looking the real job to be done. So what DBS has done is we have actually pivoted and looked at the quality and the real job scope of the internship. And that's where we assign mentorship and as well as a structured proper program, training, and as well as proper role during the internship. And during the internship, they'll be assigned mentorship, and that's how we actually expose them to our senior leaders so that they have a range of networking session. As for the fresh grads, they are also given mentorship that is actually tagged to them. And in DBS, we actually have a launched Distinguished Engineer program that we actually assign the Distinguished Engineer to actually tag to the program hires, which is the seeders. And these are the fresh grads that they were able to learn from the best of the best in the respective technology domain. So that's how we actually pivot ourselves.
Yeah, wanted to touch on the topic of mentorship, right? So I think in my experience mentoring youths, they did share with me that it's a very scary thing for them. What is a mentor? And I felt the way to think about it is, can I have a trusted partner that encourages me, that builds my self-confidence, and equips me with the right insights and skills, to actually pursue my aspirations. And I think that's how I think youth of today should see mentorships. Think of it as someone that you can trust, that maybe you can have a professional relationship with in your career journey, right? And I think that is something that you can find maybe at work, which the fellow panelists have shared, but you can also take the initiative, right, to look out for individuals who you are inspired by on LinkedIn, or even work with organizations like NTUC, where we have a human library where you can actually look at various profiles and talents in the industry that you might want to reach out to understand more about their job. And I think what is really interesting here is that it's as simple as asking for a coffee or just dropping them a message, right? I think generally people are really glad to help in Singapore, and that's something that I want to share as a message to the youth.
Two quick points on mentoring from me. The first one, I love your idea of coffee chats, and that's exactly the format that we have in T-Up. So if you want a mentor, you can go to the tup.world website and indicate one area that you are interested in exploring. So I want to be a data scientist. I don't know if I'm suitable for this. I feel stuck in my career, whatever it is, right? And then we will find you a mentor that actually does that. So that's the value we try to bring to the table, to do that curation, because I think one of the things we feel that we can add to, and this is not just within Prudential as a company, but for the community, right? And we try to do that curation process. So that's one thing, one resource that's available to you out there. The second point I wanted to make quickly is the idea of reverse mentoring, right? So I think in the conversations that we have had on stage so far, it's the young person being the mentee and then receiving all the good stuff from the wiser, older, more experienced person. We have tried out reverse mentoring in Prudential, and it has been a fun experiment, right? We had, for example, my CEO. He was very game, and he was one of the first people to try it, right? He asked to be matched with somebody from a sort of brand marketing kind of social media angle. And my CEO, Dennis, has a very strong social media game already. But what he took away from that reverse mentoring session was the use of emojis. So anytime you see him use emojis in a LinkedIn post, and he had to be persuaded. at first, right? Look, I'm a senior leader and why do I do emojis? But he was persuaded and his posts look a lot friendlier now, on top of his already very good social media game, right? So I think that's value both to the mentee, because now the mentee has added confidence, right? I just taught a CEO how to enhance his social media game. And there's value to the organization because the senior executives are now more closely tapped into the wider community and world.
Actually, Magdalene, you're right. I was about to mention about reverse mentorship. So actually, our group CEO, Piyush, actually has the reverse mentorship as well when blockchain was actually launched. So he actually asked one of the seniors to actually teach him what is blockchain about, right? And I think in DBS, right, we have this platform that we actually have a mentorship program that can be senior to junior and as well as reverse mentorship, whereby we encourage everyone to do cross-business unit mentorship. Because if you keep going to the same domain, looking for the same mentor, what you extract out is limited in that specific business unit. So across the bank, it's really huge, right? So that's how we actually encourage every employee to do the cross business unit in terms of mentorship. Yeah.
So I think besides putting some emojis to my latest LinkedIn post, right? Maybe I'd like to ask Eric as well. So because for you, I think you made quite a career switch, right? When it comes, and it was a mid-career. So do you think actually that, as youths, does our degree actually matter, or what we study actually matter when we enter? When you're talking about cross-business units mentorship, does it have to be like where we are from, for example, a business role to enter a business function? Or do you think that's like, really open?
I think, okay, I'll correct the point on mid-career switch. I'm not that old. Just kidding. Okay, I would say that...
relative, Eric.
It's all relative, right? Yeah, right. If they look at my LinkedIn, they probably know my age. Yeah, so the question is it relative? I think in today's context, be it DBS, be it in any organization, we can speak for all, is that there's a big agenda looking at skill-based hiring versus what you studied. I'm open to share, right? For the seniors that we have hired, for example, the 1,001 of them, I have a few that came from lawyer, and I did the interview. I asked, why do you do a lawyer degree for almost like 5 or 6 years, spending the time, and it's because of the interest that the individual has in terms of coding, technology, etc. So to the point of, in today's recruitment, of how we actually search for talent, is not just based on academics. That's one. Because there are many various assessment centers or various assessment tests that individual go through. And if you're able to pass it, you're able to clear it, and then you move over to the next stage. And how we actually hire our 1,000 overseas is through a full-day hackathon. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the poly grads just had a hackathon today, right? So we actually have a full-day hackathon that lasts close to almost 10 to 12 hours continuously, looking at how we actually observe the individual working in groups, how they collaborate, how each individual take lead in their respective domain, and at the same time present back. And they actually are able to build a banking platform in 12 hours' time with lock-in transaction balance, the flow chart, as well as the wealth management prices, etc. So that's how we actually look at in terms of hiring. So to your question, I don't think you should be looking at what you study to go for, but probably more of your passion of what you want to do to actually apply for the role. But before applying for the role, please do your homework. Don't apply and assume that it's just a face-to-face interview. You need to be knowledgeable in the domain that you want to apply for.
So when it comes to this, right, it's not so much now about studying, I guess, but skills-based approach. So I think a question to all the panelists here, right, will then be, so what is a skill set that actually makes one of the candidates stand out, right?
Yeah, so maybe I'll take this one. So we've been doing quite a bit of study in UOB around what makes a unicorn. Everyone here knows what a unicorn is, right? It's a horse with a horn and wings, right? And it virtually doesn't exist. So in UOB, we have this term called the talent unicorn. And what exactly is a talent unicorn? It's really hard to find someone like that. And if we do find someone like that, we would want to hire this person immediately. Okay. Firstly, the person needs to have data, right? The knowledge and experience of data, okay, and how to use this data, the data storytelling behind the data. Secondly, it is technology background. Because having all the data in the world, if you don't make sense of the data using technology, then you can't pull out the data and give you the meaningful data that you need. Okay, and the third item is the domain experience. And what I mean by domain is your functional experience, right? So for example, I'm in HR and talent acquisition, and so my domain is talent acquisition. So if you have the deep expertise of data, technology, and domain, then actually you become the talent unicorn that we're looking for. And I'll give you an example of this so-called talent unicorn, right? Back in, when COVID first hit back in 2020, we had the government launched this SG United traineeship program. And I hired one of the trainees into my team, right? She studied, her background was in data analytics, right? But in her free time, she went to learn some of the programming skills, the software programming skills like R and Python. And she joined my team in talent acquisition, so she started to gain the domain experience in talent acquisition. And when she used all three together, it was absolutely powerful. We managed to draw data and made decisions using the data that was out of this world. Right? So my advice to the youth is go and look at moving within the different functions in the organization and try to attain these three areas.
Yeah, so to add on to Jay's comment about data, technology, domain, I think what really stands out into this context, since we're a FinTech festival, right, besides just technology, I think something that really is on a high rise of talent that every organization is looking for. Two key areas. One is on tech risk, and the other is on tech audit. If you are an individual with data, individual with technology domain, individual with risk management and experience in the space, coupled with audit in the technology space, you are a super unicorn. And not many individuals in this room is able to do that because most of the technology individuals are more technical savvy versus in the risk aspects. And that is what the outlook is looking at and is moving towards. So that's the area, if I can give advice to the young individuals, build some skills in that space.
I'll just give one quick one. That's the skill of sense making, right? So yes, have all your domain, hard skills and all that. That's table stakes, right? You need at least one of that to even qualify to be in a conversation. But to be truly outstanding, you need to be able to figure out what to do when nobody else knows what to do. So sense making using the skills future framework language.
Brian, if I may, I'll wrap up. Yeah. So I think totally agree with all the panelists. Data is actually increasingly critical, and I think what's more important is really the mindset towards it, right? Staying curious with the latest developments. So wander around the hall, ask the exhibitors, what are their biggest problems. I think it's very important as an individual, and I think this is what I see in the lead mentorship that I do with NTUC. Typically, mentees that succeed are able to understand a really complex problem, simplify it into a problem statement that you're looking to tackle, right? And I think what's really positive about individuals that are able to do that, they will then be able to pair it with the insights and data that they have at their fingertips. And what organizations require is individuals who are able to interpret this data and understand it so that they can ultimately come to a business decision, right? And I think, as a mentee or as someone who is looking to improve in their career, I think it's really critical that we focus on setting the right structures and processes so that we empower ourselves to succeed. I think there are discussions here on finding the right people, finding the right program, but I think ultimately it's your own belief and your self-empowerment. And not forgetting to reward yourself, right, when you find little successes along the way. I think that's what's really important if you want to find some success in the area of finance and fintech.
Right. So I think we're out of time.
Yep.
But for more success tips, our speakers and panelists are still here. So we can just catch them off the stage later. So thank you so much, and let's build a cohesive and vibrant fintech community together. Thank you.